I feel the spirit moving in me. I feel the spirit moving in me.
Oh my. Well, imagine, if you will, it's a sunny, beautiful afternoon in a bustling Paris cafe. The air is filled with the aroma of fresh bread, pastries, and coffee. How many like that first cup of coffee in the morning? As you can smell that coffee. And there's lively chatter, just like there is here this morning. And in walks Picasso, a man whose artistic genius is only matched by the mischievous twinkle in his eyes as he orders a coffee. And no sooner does the waitress bring his coffee than a woman walks in. And she sees Picasso and she thinks, oh, this is my opportunity. And she says to him, will you sketch me? And Picasso, being an artist and a man who always likes to share his gifts, says, yes, come and sit down. And then she's about to embark on her 15 minutes of fame. But it only takes him 5 to sketch a picture of her. And with the same flair that he agreed to paint her picture, he says to her, ma'am, that will be 1 million francs. And the woman was initially elated, right? And now she stands aghast, 1 million francs. She says, it only took you 5 minutes. Picasso says, no, ma'am, it took me my entire life. You know, sometimes for us too, what seems like our quick successes are often not that quick at all, right? It's taken, I can bet, it's taken each of us a lifetime to get to this place where we have the gifts that we have the talents that we have, the joy that we have, the peace that we have, the inspiration, the spiritual knowledge that we have. Like Picasso, we can paint out our lives, sketch out our lives on the fabric of our lives. So, and hopefully we'll do it for a little less than 1 million francs. Or maybe not. I'm not even sure what 1 million francs is. But 1 million of anything sounds like it must be a lot. So in the context of the 4, now 5 agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, today we're talking about always doing our best. Now, first impression of that idea sounds like, oh my God, how am I ever going to do my best all of the time? Ever think that? All right, so thank you. So just hang in there because we're going to talk about what this agreement really means. And it is about putting out your maximum effort, right? Understanding that our best can vary from moment to moment, right? And it can depend on our health, on our attitude, how things are going in our lives. There's a lot of things that can come at us to change how we respond and how we act at our very best. Now, I thought it'd be kind of fun to see some people that we might know, might recognize, talking about doing their best. So here they are.
All right. Do your best, ma'am.
Well, do your best.
I mean, you're doing your best.
Don't worry, honey. Just do your best.
But you do your best.
You are when you're really trying to do your very best. So,
Our best.
I'll do my best, sir.
Just do your best, dear.
Do your best.
May you all do your best.
Well, do your best.
What you do best and do your best with it.
Just do your best.
So do you always do your best? Yeah? I want you to think about that as we move through this time together this morning. Do you do your best? What does that mean to you to do your best? I think that to always do our best means to act with integrity, act with intention, and to do the best that we can based on the limitations that we have in the moment. And to do so without regret or self-judgment. And all that is possible. This agreement really encourages a healthy balance between striving for excellence and promoting an attitude of recognizing our limitations and having compassion and understanding for ourselves. In essence, this agreement is about aligning our actions along with our values and at the same time being kind to ourselves and having understanding and self-compassion for ourselves. Today, we're diving into this truth that I think is refreshing as a morning cup of coffee. Doing our best is a moving target. Doesn't necessarily mean that we have to get all stressed out, that we have to be anxious about it. It's about cutting ourselves some slack, holding the intention to do our best and just being in the flow of life. It's kind of like being a chameleon, right? Constantly changing our colors to meet the landscape of our day. Some days we're vibrant, right? And we're full of energy. And we're painting the town red with productivity. Other days, it's more subdued. Maybe a soft shade of blue. Or maybe it's just being present. The key for me to doing our best is to have self-awareness and compassion, right? It's really about being present in the moment. It's kind of like having your own personal weather station, right? And being attuned to your weather station and kind of engaging or looking at your internal climate. What is it? What am I experiencing? What am I feeling? How much energy do I have? How present can I be to this moment? I like to think of it this way, and that is to ask, what is the best for me in this moment? All right? What is the best that I can be right here in this moment? And giving ourselves the ability to just be present to that, to be right in that moment, without making excuses, and give ourselves the ability to be human. You ever notice that you have good days and not so good days? Right? And I find sometimes when it's not such a good day, I can get into blaming and shaming myself and saying, you know what, I should be doing this or I should be doing that. Anybody else ever should on yourself? And that's SHOULD, I think. So, and here's the beautiful part. When we are able to combine self-awareness with self-compassion, we are able to do our best, be our best in every moment. So, what I've noticed too, there are challenges to doing our best. Anybody ever have any? I got a number of them, and I've named a few of them. And they're probably not just in me. They might be in you also. Well, one of the blocks to me doing my best is Mr. Perfectionism. Anybody got that as part of your personality? Right? And Mr. Perfectionism loves to whisper things like, if it's not perfect, it's a disaster. You need to do it absolutely perfectly, or you don't do it at all, right? Because you won't be successful, right? And you got to do it just right. And if we listen to Mr. Perfectionism, we sometimes become so intimidated that we what? We don't do anything, right? It's like, oh, forget about it. If I can't be perfect, I'm not going to play. I'm not going to do it. Well, then there's another friend that echoes in my mind, and this is Miss High Expectations. She's kind of like a college student who wants to get straight A's, right? And she's always aiming for that. And it's like, oh, I gotta get straight A's. I gotta do this. And then, for her, for any of us, we have lots of things to do, don't we? And so having that high expectation, it can limit how we do other things because we are so focused on being this perfectionist in a certain area in our lives. True for anybody? 4 of you. All right, that's not bad. We'll work on the rest and see if we can come up with some other ones here. How about the next one that shows it for me sometimes is Mr. Fear of Failure, right? Who could forget good old Mr. Failure, old-fashioned Mr. Fear of Failure? He's that classic part of us lurking in the shadows like a monster under the bed, right? And he's just waiting for the opportunity for us to start something new, and he's going to come out and go, "Rah!" Right? And he's the one that he whispers doubts and fears and horror stories into our ear that keeps us stuck in what ifs instead of what can be. All right, so there's those guys, and then there's also Mr. Burnout, right? He's the one that creeps in when we aren't being compassionate, when we aren't paying attention to ourselves, and we overstretch ourselves, and we try and do too much, and sometimes then I notice it feels like I'm running underwater. Ever feel that way? Because we have overdone it. We have burnt ourselves out. And so what we're going to talk about today is how can we do our best without being afraid of failure or burning ourselves out. And there's some benefits of always doing your best. So these are a little bit more fun. And so some of the benefits of always doing your best are personal growth. Sometimes, I find that I play this dichotomy in my mind about how do I take care of myself, right? And how do I stretch and do something that's kind of challenging, right? Because I'm sure you recognize that your personal growth comes from the times when you stretch, right? When you do something that maybe feels a little bit uncomfortable or something that's difficult or challenging. And when we do our personal best, when we are able to find that fine line and push ourselves a little bit to do things that are challenging, we tend to experience personal growth. Wouldn't you admit? Spiritual growth. We know that it is our spiritual growth that helps us, lifts us up, and helps advance us on this, playing this game of spiritual growth or consciousness, right? And what I find, it takes work to do this, right? It doesn't often, on the spiritual path, it doesn't often come easy. It takes work to move forward on the spiritual path. So again, we have to kind of look at how can I face these challenges without burning myself out or facing my fear or trying to be perfect or exceed high expectations or have high expectations for myself. Another thing that that really doing our best helps with, and that's with our self-esteem. And this is kind of like when we get to that place and we're able to look back and go, wow, look at what I accomplished. Look at what I did. And we really want to celebrate those times, right? Because we're talking to those voices inside of us that can stifle us, but we're also talking to our spirit, to our soul, to say, wow, look what you did. Look what you accomplished by being more loving, by being more forgiving, by being more truthful, by following the rest of the 4 agreements. Look at what I've accomplished. And that really helps to put wind in our sails to help us continue on this journey of enlightenment. Another thing that doing your best does is creates harmony in our relationships. You know, when we do our personal best, and those that we're in relationship with see that, it's like sending out an invitation to dance, right? Because we are reminding those we're in relationship with of the fact that we are doing this dance, doing this performance, or being in integrity with ourselves, and that invites people that we're in relationship with to do the same. And another thing that happens when we do this dance, when we do our best, right? We are like a beacon in the day or in the night, right? And other people are drawn to that beacon, right? And I know, and you know, in the principles that we follow, when we are this beacon of light, when we are speaking the truth, acting the truth, being in integrity, loving ourselves and loving others, it opens us to opportunities. If you look at some of the people that are very successful, you see that they have this sort of ability to shine this light. And therefore, things are attracted to them. They tend to be more prosperous. They tend to be more abundant. They tend to be more loving. And they have more opportunities. They have recognition from others, and they are respected by others. So how do we do this, right? How do we do our best based on what we've talked about today, with integrity, with love, with self-awareness, and with self-compassion? So I've got 5 ideas. And the first one is to set realistic goals. To break down the things that you really want, right? The things that your spirit is pulling you towards, and to break them down into smaller pieces so that you're taking smaller pieces and making smaller steps and moving forward. And we want to create small and attainable objectives, right? So, because we want to give ourselves little pieces of that which we desire so that we can swallow them whole and embrace them and embody them. And the second thing that we can do is to practice mindfulness. And you know, I say this every week, right? Because I want your mind to be full of this idea, right? And to practice it, because it is, I believe, one of the most important things we can do. And that being mindful, to me, means to be present in every moment, to be mindful of this moment, to really be paying attention to how you are, what you're feeling, right? If we're going to do our best, again, we have to be mindful of what we're experiencing right now so that we can show up in the best way we can, right? And sometimes that means not doing anything at all, right? It means staying home on the couch all day if that's what's necessary. I certainly don't recommend that every day. And, eating bonbons on the couch, you know what that's going to get you. But again, we want to be mindful of who we are, what we're doing. And of course, meditation and contemplation are the best exercises that we can do to develop this mindful muscle, which is a muscle, right? Because one of the beauties of meditation is that as we practice it, what it does, it says to our spirit, it says to our mind that it's important to be reflective. It's important to be aware of what we're experiencing. And I think once you get to a certain place and you're so mindful all the time, you don't need to spend hours in meditation because you're mindful in each moment. But meditation is the place to start, to build that consciousness, mindful muscle. And the next thing to do is to take care of yourself, right? To take time to rest, take time to play, take time to be with your friends, take time to do something that's artistic, right? There's a lot of studies now, you probably know, that artistic things like art and music and other activities of the like actually build neural pathways in our brains, right? People that are practicing these things tend to have less cases of dementia, and it's, I'm kind of hoping my brain sticks around for a while, right? You too? And again, in order for that to happen, we need to work it. We need to work our brains. We need to take care of our bodies. And another piece of that also is exercise, right? And I find, especially as we become of a certain age, you notice that things aren't as easy as they have been, And so we need to spend time exercising these units, right? Because if you don't use them, you what? You lose them, right? So put exercise, even if it's just walking every day. Do something to exercise your body and to take time and just to relax, to meditate. One of the beauties of meditation and breathing is just that it just allows us to be in that moment, to be present. And the next thing that we can do, I love the image of this kid, right? He's writing or he's drawing or something, and he is, making mistakes, and he's throwing these papers on the ground. And to me, that means just learn to allow yourself to make mistakes, right? And to be like, okay, I screwed up. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Blaine. I'm sorry, whoever else, because if we're afraid of not making mistakes, what happens? We don't do anything, right? Oh, I don't want to make a mistake. There's another character in there somewhere, I'm sure. So allow yourself to make mistakes. Even pride yourself in making mistakes, right? Because mistakes are part of our path of enlightenment, is to make a mistake and to help us to improve and refine our approach. And doing so helps us to stay in that mode of working on ourselves, to stretching the limits of who we are and who we can be. And the last one is to seek feedback and reflect. And so really just, what I think is so important to do, and I do this with some people in this room, is to ask, how can I improve what I'm doing? What can I do to improve my role as a minister, my role as a friend, and to have that communication, mind you, with somebody that you trust and somebody that's going to give you honest feedback, and not feedback that's based on their own ego, right, and what they might want for you, but to find somebody that you love and that you can trust and say, hey, what can I do to be better? How can I be better in my relationship? How can I be better in my occupation? How can I be better socially? And then to reflect on those things and really look at, wow, this is what this person said to me that I trust. I know for me, often I got Mr. Defensive, right? And I can jump into Mr. Defensive oftentimes in a moment. It seems like it's my life work to not get defensive when I am given feedback. And how can I embrace that feedback in a constructive way that honors the person who is given it to me and honors myself? And how can I love myself in the midst of that? So do you have some ideas about how to always do your best? Anyone? So I live my life to the fullest, always doing my best. Say that with me. I live my life to the fullest, always doing my best. There's a great story that I like about Armin Hari. He was in the 1960 Olympics in Rome, and he was known as the fastest man on earth at that time. But he had a problem. And his problem was he was so fast that he would appear to jump the gun. And in the clip you're going to see in a couple of moments of the Olympics, you're going to see all of the runners get called back because they assumed that he got out of the blocks so fast that he must have started before the gun. And so imagine this. The runners are lining up at the blocks. The crowd gets quiet. And they're whispering, and the runners are jittery as they find their way to the blocks. And Armin takes a deep breath, probably thinking something like, okay, Armin, let's do our best without actually flying before the gun time. And then, bang, the gun goes off, and they're racing down the track, and Armin explodes with all the restraint of a caffeinated kangaroo. But this time, legally. He's a blur down the track. And Armin Hari, despite all odds, comes in first, and he becomes known as the fastest man on the planet. And so here's a clip from that time. So here's a golden nugget from Armin's story. Doing your best isn't about the perfect start, the flawless journey, or even being first off the blocks. It's about showing up and giving it your all. And sometimes It's about managing to stay behind the line until the right moment. It's about persistence, resilience, and I think a bit of humor to deal with those who might underestimate you. So here's your mission. Should you decide to accept it, pick one area in your life that you will commit to giving your absolute best to this week. Whatever it is, dive in like a kid diving into a pile of autumn leaves. Do your best means acting with integrity, with intention. Doing your best means acting along with integrity, with self-awareness, self-compassion, and accepting your limitations and your best judgment to do what you can, to be the fullest and best expression of the truth of who you are. So I encourage you, invite you to do that this week. And in case you're wondering, what were all the things that I mentioned? Well, they're on the Walk Your Talk, and you can take one home with you today. So let's say it again, our affirmation. Together, I live my life to the fullest, always doing my best. I invite you to close your eyes. Breathing in. Breathing out. Imagine what it feels like to do your best. Imagine the feeling from being self-aware. Having compassion for yourself. To show up. To be present. To be aware.
Wisdom. All for the cost of nothing, because we do it because we feel called to give it. And that's what the church paradigm is this is necessary. This is how we connect with spirit and with each other. And we live in the Maya. We live in this 3D world that has bills to pay. And so that's why we pass the plate and we ask for what you can give. If you happen to have 100 million francs on you, now's the time. Share that with us. Those that came in late don't get that joke. As Blaine mentioned last week, we've had a couple of months that don't look quite as good on the spreadsheet, and we've all had that in life. We've all had those moments where, we're worried about enough funding, enough source. And the point is to remember what the source really is. And most of you probably know that the original definition of tithing, at least I'm told, the way I heard the story, is that it was a farming term. And in the early days of farming and agriculture, the smart thing to do would be to take 10% of your harvest and plow it back into the earth and fertilize it for the next batch. So it's saying, hey, I know there's plenty to go around, and this is blessing. I put some back in to nurture the next flow, and that's really where it came from. So if you feel called to give 10% or 1% or more or less, that's totally up to you. The point is that we all affirm together that we are connected to an infinite source, that has our back, that is always flowing into our life. It's not our job. It's not our tax refund. It's not any individual thing, although those are blessings that we can welcome into our life. The truth is that we simply, by being on this planet, deserve to be here, deserve to be nurtured. And there's a lot of talk about the law of the jungle, and some people made that all competitive. But if you really look at the way the whole frickin' thing evolved, is we're all nourishing each other. You know, the nitrogen that I breathe out, the trees breathe in, and that's great. And then the trees excrete something really good, oxygen back for me. So it's all connected, and we all grow together. And so we're just affirming that that's what it's about. Anyway, and that's what Unity of Maui does. And so now we're going to pass the plate, and if you feel called to give something to nurture what's growing here, then we would certainly welcome that. And we have a prayer that we say together as we hold our offering in our hand. And together we say, through a grateful, giving heart, my mind and life overflow with the abundance of God's all-providing, infinite supply. So with a grateful heart, Unity of Maui receives these gifts. We count them up, we tithe on them ourselves, and we give 10% off to what nurtures us spiritually, and thus we participate in the flow, we continue the flow. So we are so grateful to be blessed with these gifts today, knowing that they keep the lights on, the roof over our head, and also empower us to do more, to give the gifts that we feel called, to do our best to love Maui, to love our state and our country and our planet, and to let that love spread and let that light just continue to shine. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And the flowers today are from Ke Aloha. Are they dedicated to anybody in particular? How about that? She came and shared her flowering orchids with us. Thank you so much, Ke Aloha. And if you have access to flowers or want to buy some, either way, there's a sign-up sheet in the back, so you could just sign up on that and bring them, share them with us, and at the end of the service, take them home and continue to enjoy them. No need for them to sit here all week. And let's see, what other exciting things? Okay, well, we're trying to get a hospitality team together. Because remember when you'd come to church and you'd have coffee and donuts and that kind of thing? So some of us have a fantasy that that'll come around again. But of course, to make that happen, we need some human beings, some volunteers to help put that together. And we're also looking to do some potlucks a few times a year and get together, break bread, you know, all that good stuff. And so if you're interested in either of those, there's a sign-up sheet in the back for that also. And Easter's coming up, and Robin is putting together some wonderful musicians, the Joy Singers, to give us some stuff. You want to tell us anything about that, Robin?
No, first rehearsal's right after church today, so come and get the music and learn what we're going to do and the schedule, and come and join us. It's going to be fun. It's low stress, a lot of fun.
Wow, can't beat that. So if you got an urge to sing out, then that is the place for you. All right, so we've been doing the 5 agreements. Originally it was a book, the 4 agreements. And the 5th agreement is if they offer you another book contract, write another book and come up with another agreement. So I guess Don Miguel Ruiz did that. And so next week we will continue, since there's now a new improved 5th agreement, just like there was a 10th insight. Remember when that came out, or the 11th one or whatever? Okay, so anyway, they're all good. And it's always good to have more insights and agreements. And so we've been doing that for the last 4 weeks, and we got one more week to go. So next week, Reverend Blaine is going to give us the thought-provoking and enlightening talk titled, Be Skeptical, but Learn to Listen. And our world is teeming with information and diverse perspectives, and navigating through that noise with discernment is crucial while still keeping our hearts and minds open. And so Reverend Blaine is going to delve into balancing healthy skepticism with the profound skill of active listening. And you can discover this balance's transformative power in the enhancing personal relationships, making informed decisions, and fostering a deeper understanding of the world around us. And this engaging talk will provide practical insights and strategies to cultivate a mindset that questions with curiosity and embraces learning with an open heart. And this talk will offer valuable guidance and support, whether seeking clarity in confusion, harmony in disagreement, or simply a fresh perspective on life's challenges. Always good to have a different perspective on those. So don't miss this opportunity to journey towards more meaningful and authentic interactions. Join us here at Unity of Maui to unlock the potential of being skeptical yet receptive, and see how this powerful combination can change your life. So that's next week. I'm looking forward to that. And again, as Blaine said, if you want to review what was said today, the Walk Your Talk is by the back door. So it's almost time to tie this up and put a bow on it. I want to remind you that the prayer chaplains are here for you, especially Patricia Crown. Come on up and ask her for a prayer. If you have anything that you'd like to take to a higher consciousness and a higher thought about health, or about money, or about doing our best, or whatever it is, the prayer chaplains are here to pray for you. So let's stand up. Let's say our prayer of protection, and then we're going to circle up. And I think we got enough people that we can actually easily do a beautiful circle. All right. So let's see. Oh, one more time here. Let's see. Oh, there, the walk the talk. A little behind on the slides. Okay, all together now, team. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. And we're going to take
where I live. They're all raised.